Today on the show, I broke into my childhood home and nearly got killed. All that and more on 20th Century Boy, the show that Joe Biden described as it comes from America. Right. Welcome to 20th Century Boy. My name is New Chair Mike, and this is the inside of my mind. Oh, welcome back, new chair, new me. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking, what does this mean? What is he talking about? What is this new chair he's referring to? So, I'll tell you this story, okay? This is the first story I've got to get off my chest. So, for the past year and a half, I've been using this chair, this office chair, right? That I bought from Officeworks for $99, non-sponsored, definitely non-sponsored. And this chair has been the bane of my existence for about a year and a half, okay? By the way, my name's Radio Mike. This is 20th Century Boy, a podcast by me, Radio Mike, and it's the conversations you wish you were having about the stuff that no one else cares about, okay? That's what we do here. And so, look, this chair, not only is it the most uncomfortable chair in the world, right? And it almost was like I became so accustomed to the chair that I was almost making excuses for it being terrible, okay? And then people would come to my house and sit on the chair, and they'd be like, how do you sit on this chair every day? It's so hard and uncomfortable. And I'm like, yeah, I guess it is, right? But not only that, okay? This chair is somehow the squeakiest chair that has ever been made in the world, okay? To show you, I am going to sit on the chair right now, and you literally just listen. You will hear it. It is so loud that this directional microphone that is designed specifically to only pick up sound right in front of it will still pick up the chair. And a lot of you maybe in the past have actually heard this chair because I try to avoid sitting on it during podcast records at all costs. But some of you may have heard this chair because in the times I've sat on it, it is very obviously there, okay? Here is the chair. I'm going to sit on it. Have a listen. Okay, this is just me. Okay, I'm just sitting on the chair no matter how I sit on it, right? Say I want to get up from the chair. Did you hear that? Okay, that's the chair. This is what I'm working with, okay? It's squeaky, right? Now, I got a new chair from IKEA, $129, I know. Paying the big bucks. Look at that. I just sat down on it. You never would have known because it's as soft as a cloud. I'm sitting in it now and it feels quite nice, okay? So I'm new chair, Mike. I've got my new chair, finally. And you know, I've been putting off getting this new chair for months, for a year and a half. I've known I had to get a new chair, but I'm just like, nah, I just can't be bothered. Finally got one. Okay, so that's resolved. I have a few things I want to talk about this week. Of course, last week on the show was a little bit different. And I was like, hey, I'm not going to do video pods anymore. I'm just going to do audio and talk off the cuff and not really do heaps of production, at least for the time being. That's what the podcast is at the moment. And thank you to all the feedback. A lot of people got back to me and were like, hey man, cool, do whatever you want for the pod. I'll still listen. Got a great email from Cody Tachibana. Thank you so much for reaching out, Cody. Cody has been a long time listener of the show. His name has popped up over the years. He said, hey Mike, wanted to quickly share my 2 cents regarding the direction of the pod. Personally, my favorite content of yours was actually back when you were doing the overflow on Patreon. And back to Mike now, that was something I did for a while. I did this thing called the overflow, which was just like an extra 10 to 15 minutes where I just sort of talked off the cusp for 15 minutes only on Patreon. So Cody is a Patreon supporter, patreon.com/Radio Mike if you'd like to support anything I do. He said, the casual, more introspective nature of the series was great to listen to. And those types of solo podcasts are usually what I gravitate towards anyway. If you're planning to have TCB go in that kind of direction, then I'm all for it. Best of luck, Mike. Cheers, Cody. And still welcoming feedback on the new direction of the pod, but I did get heaps of positive feedback, and this is just definitely what's going to work for me for the time being, which is good, because as I said, so basically when I put up a full video podcast of this pod on my YouTube channel, right, it's a 45-minute to 50-minute video that, gets significantly less views than pretty much everything else I put up. And what happens is the YouTube algorithm goes, this guy, these videos aren't good. So we're going to push down this entire channel because there's these videos that aren't good for YouTube. And I get it. So that's why I wanted to stop putting the videos up. And essentially, I've seen results already with 2 weeks of not having a full video pod up. So, and I don't know, I get that there's some use of having video for podcasts, but especially if I'm just going to be talking off the cusp, I've got content coming from other, I've got video content coming from my YouTube stuff, which I've done a bunch of, and I'll talk a bit about later. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. I've been feeling really good, and again, I think this style is really going to work for me. So I hope you guys are there for it. So today, obviously, I've teased this crazy story about how I broke into my childhood home, and I have to tell it. And it is related to a bunch of stuff I've been thinking about recently, okay? Because if you're a Radio Mike completionist, which I always wonder if there is someone out there that is a Radio Mike completionist and just consumes, is someone out there the Mike super fan who just consumes literally everything I do, right? I'd love to know who you are. I don't know if you exist, but you might. And my blog recently, which is radiomike.substack.com. It's a fortnightly blog, comes out on a Sunday at 8 a.m. My blog this time was about social anxiety and making new friends, right? And how social anxiety stops me from making new friends. I'll put a link in the description, but, go read it, okay? It's interesting. And it kind of links into this story about how I broke into my childhood home. Yes, that is a little bit clickbaity, but indulge me, okay? Because essentially, I did this week of social interactions that I wouldn't usually have because, as I write in the blog, I usually completely put off any kind of social interaction that I don't need to have because it makes me feel uncomfortable. But a few weeks ago, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put myself in these uncomfortable situations and see what happens. And so did a few things. I was at this this games night that my friend Jack hosted, and he invited a few other people. It was a really fun night, and made a bunch of mates there, bunch of new friends, got chatting, and ended up in this situation where I was talking to this guy at the party who is actually a well-known person in the Australian comedy space that, a lot of people probably know. But for their own privacy, I won't mention their name. But a sketch kind of comedy group. And they were talking, and they were talking about chess. And they said, Mike, do you play chess? And I said, no, I don't play chess much. But if we are talking about online games we like to play, I'm a big Smash Bros fan, which is true. But for whatever reason, I have this weird thing where I think people are going to judge me for being into video games and for being in which is crazy, right? But that's just what my inner psyche says. And I just said it thinking people are going to be like, oh my God, this guy's such a nerd and he's so weird. But the response was oh, we play that too. Hey, we should all hang out. We should all hang out and play Smash Bros one night. Fast forward, it's a Friday night. I've been invited to this house and I'm having a Smash Bros night and a games night with some new friends. And it's awesome. It's a fantastic evening. And I realized that by just being myself and saying I love Smash Bros, I was able to make a new friend and a new connection and have a great night with great memories. And I think that's awesome, right? And that was the idea of me doing stuff that I wouldn't normally do. Okay, so here I am. I'm at this games night, sort of up the road from where my parents live. And I don't have a car at the moment, but I knew it was going to be a late night. So I actually went to my parents' place before and I said to my mum, hey, can I borrow your car and I'll bring it back tomorrow? She said, no worries, take the car. So I took my parents' car and took it to this house. Had a great time. Gets to like 12:30, after midnight. And we've all had such a good time. It's time to go home. So I'm like, oh, all right, gonna jump in the car. I jump in the car, okay? Here I am, normal guy, jumping in the car. And I drive and my phone is dead. So I'm like, oh shit, I don't really actually know which way I have to go. So I'll just drive in a direction until I see a sign. And I drive and then I see a sign that says the city is the other way. So, I've been driving 10 minutes the wrong way. I turn the car around and then I drive through the suburb I grew up in, okay, which is on the way to Richmond, where I live now. And I'm driving through this suburb where my parents live, and I'm taking the street that sort of is the way to get to Richmond from where my parents are, and the road is closed. The whole road is closed, and I go, oh, shit, that's so annoying. I have to turn the car around, find a detour. Really annoying. Really, really annoying. And so I turn the car around. It's about 1 o'clock now because of the 10 minutes of driving in the wrong direction. 1 o'clock, 1:15. And in this moment, I'm like, you know what? I've got a key to mum and dad's. I'm just going to park the car there. I'm going to open the front door very quietly with my keys and slink into my brother's old bedroom, which is at the front of the house. Don't have to walk past don't have to walk past my parents' room. Get into bed, text my mum, say, hey, just so you know, I've stayed at your place. Road was closed. See you in the morning. She'll see it in the morning. She won't freak out. Everything will be fine and dandy. We'll all have a great time in the morning catching up. That was my plan. So I drive back to mum and dad's. Here I am, okay? I park at my mum and dad's place. It's just like old times. It's just like when I, first got my license and used to go out to friends' houses and drive home and get back late. And I get my key out. I've done this 1,000 times before. But one thing I didn't know since I've moved out is that now my mum locks the screen door at the front. I guess for security reasons. Fair enough. But it never used to happen when I was a kid, okay? I only have a key to the front door, not the screen door. And the screen door is now blocking my only way into the house, or so I thought. So I go, well, that's annoying. I look at the car and I go, I guess now I have to get in the car, start it up, drive back. I'm just wasting more time if I want to go home. And I'm like, I'm so tired. I just want to get to bed. Then I kind of just tap on the screen door, wondering if maybe my mum is awake and she'll be like, it's quite late, but maybe she'll be awake. She'll come to the door and be like, who is it? And I'll be like, it's Michael. She'll be like, oh, okay. But no one comes. Then I remember, hang on a second. My key also unlocks the side door at the back of the house, not the back door. There's a side door. Also unlocks that door, right? And that's at the back of the house. It's like leads into the laundry. It's like this little side door we have. I'm like, great. Okay, I'm just going to have to be really quiet because now instead of just going through the front door and slinking left into my brother's old bedroom, I actually have to go all the way to the back of the house and then walk all the way through the house to get to that bedroom. Okay, so I've got to be really quiet. I walk down the side of the house past my mum and dad's bedroom window, and I'm like trying to have as quiet footsteps as possible to not wake them up because I know they'll be scared. And I open the laundry door, right? It's pitch black in the house. I'm like, okay, I need to use my memory here to know exactly where to step without bumping into something. But to be honest, closing the door behind me makes a noise. Opening the laundry door makes a noise, but I think I'm okay. I'm walking through the house, okay, and I can't hear anything. All the doors are closed. And then suddenly I see a light go on and hear a little bit of a scuffle behind the door that leads from the living room into the hallway. Okay? A little bit of some sort of frantic scuffle. I now realize my mum and dad are definitely awake, and I'm like, oh my God, Jesus Christ, I've woken them up. And I start sort of whisper shouting, "It's Michael! It's Michael!" I hear nothing. "It's Michael!" Nothing. So I then really have no choice. I open the door into the hallway, and on the other side of the door is my dad holding a bat, about to hit me in the face because he thinks I'm an intruder to the house. Totally fair, by the way. Completely fair, completely reasonable. But I did not think that night I would be face to face with my own dad holding a bat. Thankfully, he doesn't swing because he realizes it's his own son that has intruded and trespassed on the property and forcibly entered the house. Well, no, I had a key. But, Mum, she's still hiding in the bedroom. She's gone to Dad, "Hey, someone's in the house. You got to wake up." So Dad's gotten out of bed. He looks half asleep. He literally looks like he's still asleep, okay? Mum's hiding in the bedroom. Dad sees me, puts the bat down. Mum comes out and goes, "Oh, what are you doing here?" I said, "Well, the screen door was locked. If the screen door wasn't locked, I would have just come through." But she's like, "You didn't tell us you were staying." I said, "Yeah." And then I had to explain this whole story up to this point to my parents, right? They're upset. They've nearly had a heart attack, okay? Their hearts are racing. Now they're like laughing about it. It's like, "Oh, Mike, we thought you were an intruder. Dad was about to hit you. Oh, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Yes, now let's go to sleep because I'm tired. That's why I came here." Anyway, it ends up being like 2 a.m. by the time I get to sleep because my mum insists that she needs to like make up the bedroom properly because it's not set up for a guest and she's got stuff all over. I'm like, "Don't worry, Mum, I'll just get in." No, I need to set it up for you. Go sit in the other room and I'll set it up. Okay. Dad now can't sleep, so he goes and turns on the TV really loud and starts watching TV while he's, coming down off a panic attack. It's really one of the most absurd experiences of my whole life. And all of this happened because I decided to fight my social anxiety. Okay? And because I just wanted to go to sleep as quickly as possible. Now, my dad is about to hit me with a bat. Okay? It's the most scared I've ever seen my parents, and it is an intense moment, but we all laugh about it in the morning. Okay? Mum, I finally get into bed. Mum keeps coming back in. "Oh, Mike, when I heard noises from the front." "Yes, Mum, now I'm going to sleep." "Oh, yeah. Then she'll come back. "And then I heard the door open and I said, 'Tony, someone's in the house.' Okay? And then Dad sprung up and I was hiding and I was like, 'Yes, Mum.'" And I'm not making fun of my parents because totally fair, they freaked out. I just, we all know it really happened because Mum locks the screen door now. If Mum didn't lock the screen door, everything would have been fine that night, but it wasn't. And that's how I nearly broke into my childhood home and nearly got killed, which would have been absolutely crazy. And then, sure enough, by the time I leave in the morning, I go past my nonna's for a coffee. She's already heard the news. Gossip travels very quick in Italian families, okay? I get into nonna's. She's like, "Why you not call out and say, 'Mum and Dad, it's me'?" I said, "Well, because it was 1:30. "Doesn't matter. Wake them up. Wake them up." I said, "Okay, next time I will, nonna." "Yes, otherwise the daddy maybe hit you." Said, "Yes, okay, Nonna, I understand. I don't know how you know about this because it just happened and we've been asleep. So I don't know how she found out. I guess someone's gone and told her before I could get there." Anyway, crazy times, okay? It was a really interesting, was it interesting? I don't know, it was just a funny moment. You know what else I've been doing this week? Well, it's not something I've been doing, but boy, oh boy, did I enjoy the Trump and Biden debate. This has got to be just one of the strangest moments in history, okay? Because and I'm going to say what everyone's thinking. Donald Trump is going to be the next president of the United States, okay? It's going to happen. And here's the other thing that everyone's thinking, but no one actually wants to say, okay? Donald Trump somehow looked like the more normal person in that debate. I don't know how it happened, but it is undeniable. Somehow, some way, doubled up there, sorry, he looks like the more normal person because Joe Biden is not a well man. He simply can't be president. You couldn't, in good faith, vote for Joe Biden after seeing that election. I really don't think you can. And people are either going to just not vote or they're going to vote for Trump because Trump, at least to some degree, looks like he knows what he's talking about. I'm not saying that he's good. I'm just saying that when you put him next to Biden, suddenly he looks like at least like a kind of normal person. I don't like it. But part of being an adult is you have to essentially realize that sometimes the truth is uncomfortable. Sometimes you don't want the truth to be true, but it just is. And that's the situation in America. Crazy that of all the people in America, what's the population of the USA? USA population. Okay. 333 million people in the USA. What's Australia's population? It's 26 million. Okay. So Australia has less people in it than California, which is a state. Australia has less people. California has 39.03 million. Australia, 26.01. There are 333 million people in America. And yet, apparently, Biden and Trump are the two best possible candidates to be president. Wow. It is... I don't understand it. I don't expect you to understand it. This is just the world that we're living in now, guys. And it's a bit crazy. It is a bit crazy, okay? Okay, one more thing I've been doing, and I've realized that it actually really helps me, okay? Because I get distracted really easy, and my thoughts are very, very scattered a lot of the time. And I realize I need a way to just get my thoughts down somewhere, right? And I started looking into the best note-taking apps, okay? Like, what's a good note-taking apps that I can just, if I need to put my thoughts somewhere, I can just put them. Started looking into all these note-taking apps, which was so wanky, by the way. Apologies if you use them. I actually spoke to friend of the show, Whitey, about this, and he recommended this one called Obsidian. And he told me, he's like, I like to keep it very minimal. I just want to put notes in there. I don't want any fancy features. And so I downloaded Obsidian, and they're just so feature heavy that it actually becomes more about trying to customize it as much as possible to your taste than just the whole point, which is taking notes. And I'm like, I can already see myself just getting lost in this customization, and it's not going to be good for me. And that's what happened. So I deleted Obsidian. Then I went to Notion, another one. And Notion was similarly a little bit wanky. And you go online, on YouTube, they're like, it's a Notion setup tutorial. Here's how you set up Notion. And all these people are doing these wanky setups where they're like, yeah, this is how I set up Notion to be my second brain, okay? This is how I do it. Basically, when, I have a to-do list on my Notion and it's linked to this database, and when I put something into my to-do list, I put the title of the thing, the due date, the urgency, and who in my life it affects, whether it's work, family, or whatever. And then I can generate a report that shows the most urgent things that I have to do for which people and which parts of my life, whether it's work, family, friends. And I was watching it, I'm like, this is so stupid because in the time in which you write down like, I don't know, haircut, date, July 4, urgency, low, who does it affect? Me. By the time you've done that, you could have just written haircut and known, okay, I'm getting a haircut. That you don't need to do like it's these, and they're like, oh, you can link it to other pages and YouTube videos. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't want this. It was just so wanky. Anyway, finally found this one. It's just called Simple Note, right? It's a free app. You can do it in your browser, just on Chrome, because I'm always on computer with work. And there's an app on iPhone. And you literally, it's just notes and you can do a checklist. So now it's amazing how quickly like just having a to-do list for every day. I know this sounds so simple, but for me, scatterbrain, a little bit probably ADHD, undiagnosed. It's just, I can just visualize everything. I can see what I have to do. If something comes into my mind that I need to remember, I just put it in a note. If I need to like write something down, it's all there. It's just made everything so much more streamlined and easy for me. Non-sponsored, obviously, but it's actually just a real game changer for me. And I know in the past, like, at school when they make you like, they give you like a school diary and you're supposed to like fill it out and be like, hey, this is my homework. This is when it's due. And like, I actually remember using that at school and being like, when I'm using that, I feel organized. And then you like kind of lose the habit and then suddenly everything's a scramble and you have no idea what's going on. And obviously I have used like diaries. Like the reason I have a 2024 diary that I was using, but it is just the worst formatted diary of all time. I maybe I'll post a picture on the Instagram at TCB pod. There's no like dividing lines between the days and it's all like vertical. It's hard to explain, but it's just a very bad diary. So I just stopped using it and then I lose track of everything. Okay. And now I'm just doing it all in Simple Note and it is making like, I feel like people who listen to this pod are similar to me. Bit scatterbrainy, get distracted easily, have a lot of thoughts in their mind, just nerd stuff. And this has genuinely really, really helped that. So I would highly recommend checking it out. And it's just amazing how, honestly, having a to-do list, because basically I have a day-to-day or week-to-week to-do list. And then I've also got sort of more long-term or time-intensive projects that aren't linked to work, okay? Now it's starting to sound like Notion, but it's literally just a checklist of stuff like around the house that I keep putting off and I need to do, but I never do. For example, this is just so simple, but I have this like charger that like is like a dock for my Switch controllers, okay? So when I finish playing Switch, I put the controllers on the dock and they charge, right? And it just hasn't been working for ages. And it's like literally hasn't been working for months. It just like maybe 4 or 5 months it hasn't worked and I just haven't done anything. Anyway, I put it in my checklist of things to do, fix Switch dock. And then basically when I'm sort of sitting there being like, oh, I don't know what to do with my time, I look at this. I'm like, oh, fix Switch dock. Okay, I'll do that. Then I go up to it. I literally, I've been putting it off for months because essentially I'm like, oh, I have to like go under the TV unit and look and see what's wrong with it. And I just can't be bothered. It's so lazy. But then when you then I do it. I look under the TV unit. It's literally just come unplugged. It's been like that for 5 months and it's literally just because it came unplugged and I needed to replug it in. So I do, and now it's working and it's fixed. Okay? That laziness, but it's literally just like, what I realize is in your mind with a lot of these menial tasks, your mind's like, oh, I don't have time to do that. I just don't have time. Then you actually realize, yes, you do have time. It's all the time you're procrastinating, doing nothing, that you can look at this and be like, oh, I could do this. And that is a constructive way for me to use my time to achieve something or to get something done, to make something in my life more efficient or to fix something that isn't working. And like there's one right now. This is embarrassing. I'm embarrassed to even say this. Basically, there's a bunch of clothes at the bottom of my wash basket that I just like don't know. I need, okay, this is embarrassing. I've already washed them, but then when they dry, they need to be ironed, and I just can't be bothered ironing them. This is probably 6 to 8 months. So instead of doing anything, I just throw them back in the bottom of the wash basket. This is just a repeated cycle of behavior, okay? Where I'm like, I don't know how to handle this. I don't have time to iron. I don't want to iron. So I'm just going to put these clothes back at the bottom of the wash basket. And then I'm always like, where's my shirt? Where's that shirt? Oh yeah, it's at the bottom of the wash basket for 8 months because I haven't been able to iron it. I don't have time to iron it. So now I've got that on the list. Next time I do a wash, I'm going to have to iron them. Okay? How embarrassing is that? So what I realize is you do have time to do these things. You just need, it's almost like you need to have them written down. You need to have stuff written down, have a checklist, makes you feel like you're achieving something, makes you feel like you're doing something of value. And that springs up like some dopamine. Then you realize like by completing these tasks, there's a dopamine burst and you're like, oh, cool, I'm getting shit done. I'm doing stuff. I'm useful. I'm productive. I'm not wasting my life. And that like all of this is stuff is linked, okay? I feel a lot more organized. I feel a lot more productive, and it's really, really good. So I recommend it. Anyway, going to finish it there, but we will do one of these. The plug. I've got a lot to plug this week, and I would love for you to check it out. I was a guest on 2 podcasts this week. One was the Josh and Joe podcast. Did an episode with them, which was really fun. You can find them. I'll put a link in the description to this pod. There is a whole playlist that I've made on Spotify, which is just called Radio Mike Podcast Appearances. And it's just like pretty much every time I've been a guest on a podcast, I put it in this playlist. And there's like, I mean, I'm looking at it now. There's 47 episodes of podcasts in there. 49 hours or 50 hours worth of mic content, if you want it, is all in there. So go and check out that playlist. I also was a guest on the Restricted section, which is a Harry Potter podcast that I've guested on. I think that was my 3rd time, actually, talking about Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, which was really fun. So look forward to that. That'll be in the playlist too. From there, Harry Potter and the Boys, of course, is still running and has been a ton of fun. We are about to finish Book 3 of Harry Potter and the Boys, the final chapter of Harry Potter and the Boys, Book 3, The Commentors from Azkaban, is coming out. And I would, if you haven't listened, this book has been so fun. And then we're moving on to Book 4, which is awesome. Next up, I wanted to plug the YouTube channel. I've put a bunch of videos up this week, which are going really well. First one was about Shrek 5 has been confirmed. Longtime listeners of this show will know that Shrek 5 is something I've talked about a lot, and definitely go and watch that video on YouTube. I also did a video coming up with ideas for sequels to Pixar movies, which I'd love for you to watch. As well as that, some big announcements on the Harry Potter HBO TV series, which I talked about, and a feature editorial about how Kramer got cancelled. Kramer, aka Michael Richards, the actor, had a notorious racist meltdown on stage in 2006. It was massive news. It's a very interesting story, one of the first instances of cancel culture in society. So go and watch that over on the YouTube channel. Finally, my blog, radiomike.substack.com. There is a bunch of articles you can read up there all about mental health, being a millennial, having anxiety, and pop culture. So please go and check that out. Patreon.com/RadioMike if you want to support anything I do. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you next week. My name's been Radio Mike, and this podcast has been The Inside of My Mind. Catch you later.